AITA for sending my son to stay with his dad because he left the door unlocked. I am a single mom. I do not have a lot of rules, but I expect the few I have to be followed because they are for both for safety and common courtesy. My oldest child has always had difficulty following rules. He is also extremely irresponsible and does not seem to understand how his actions affect others. When he does something wrong, he gets irrationally angry about it or tries to rationalize it. Any comment, even constructive criticism, is met with aggressive anger and name-calling. By his own admission, he has anger issues and he sees a therapist regularly. He even blows up at himself when he's alone in his room if he spills a drink or stubs his toe. It's completely over the top. Now that he's legally an adult, if we have a disagreement, he will immediately start yelling, name-calling, and say that he's an adult and I can't tell him what to do. He's made some poor decisions that have negatively impacted our family and does not seem to understand consequences at all. If this was any other relationship and not my child, I would have ended it long ago. I am sick of his blow-ups and being called names in my own home. And I am sick of him doing whatever he wants with no regards to how his actions affect others. It causes a lot of unneeded stress. Tonight I hit my breaking point. He went out and when he got home, he did not lock the door or even check to make sure it was latched. I heard him come in and called out to lock the door because I was in the back of the house at the time. He ignored me. The door was left wide open and one of our cats got out and is now missing. This is not the first time he's failed to close or lock a door. I have woken up twice in the last year to discover my front door wide open in the middle of the night. Luckily, both those times our pets were secured in other rooms and did not get out. And thankfully, no one came in. Due to his anger issues and the fact that he can't be trusted to do basic but important things like close a door, I no longer feel safe with him here. I called his father tonight in tears, and he immediately came over and helped look for our cat. He spent hours combing the neighborhood with me and agrees that our son's behavior is not okay. Our son did help look for the cat, but he doesn't understand why I am so upset over a mistake. I told him a mistake that keeps happening is a choice and that he has no regard for our safety or how his actions affect others. For the safety of me, my other children, and our pets, I asked his father to take him to stay at his house for now. Our son is mad at me for doing it, but I need a break from him. I am heartbroken our cat is still missing and worried about how my other children will react when we tell them, and I am so angry that it all could have been prevented. So AITA for telling my parents that my sister spitefully sleeps with other men. I have been back for Christmas break and have been here for nearly a month with intentions of going back to my dorm soon. My sister, who is currently in senior year, goes to parties every weekend as it is her final year and has had the same boyfriend for 3 years. My parents absolutely adore him, think he is a gentleman and sweet. They just entirely love their relationship and how they make each other. Nonetheless, my sister has been confiding in me while I have been here. She would always come back distressed from these parties or tell me what happened while she was still inebriated. At these parties, she would find him full-blown cheating and she would cheat back. They would proceed to each play mind games with each other for the rest of the party until they both get back together before it ends. She said that this has been happening for a couple of months and that they have also been arguing about each other's prospects or trajectory they have lined out for themselves. So, it has clearly been tumultuous for them. At our family dinner a couple of days back, my parents brought her boyfriend up and what were his plans. My sister proceeded to act as though they were extremely happy and knowing of what they have when they don't. I don't feel the need to see her lie to my parents, so I tell them that they both spitefully sleep with other people and are going through a tumultuous time. My parents were both taken aback by this as they wouldn't have ever expected this from either of them since they think they are both saints. My sister just left the dinner and hasn't spoken to me since even though I was just trying to be honest for her. She has been avoiding our parents too and they are all collectively upset with me for saying something that wasn't my story to tell. AITA for causing a scene at my father's wedding. I'll try to keep this short. I recently attended my father's wedding with his new girlfriend, which me and my 2 sisters and traveled across the country for. Due to my father being unfaithful to my mother with the woman he was marrying, being highly abusive to my mother and his children, and the 30-year age gap between them, my sisters and I were uncomfortable with the whole situation and were trying to get through the weekend without getting too upset and spending time with the little family we had at the wedding. Whilst we tried to have a good time and ignore the inevitable toast and speeches that came before the ceremony mentioning how uncomfortable his girlfriend's family felt about my father having a pre-made family, and how they found it difficult to welcome us into theirs. When time for the wedding came and we were walked down the aisle as bridesmaids before the incoming bride walked and I suddenly felt overwhelmed with emotion and tears began to form in my eyes. As it got to the I do part of the ceremony, my sisters and I held hands and braced for the ring bearer to stand up in a short while. As this was going to happen, I quickly composed myself and released my sister's hands I had been tightly holding previously. As the vicar began to drone of the legal requirements to carry out the wedding, such as asking those present if they were aware of any impediments to the marriage, such as adultery and any vows of celibacy act. Something sparked inside of me and I quickly raised myself out of my seat and before I could stop myself exclaimed to the priest, and those who were staring at me astonished, of the wrongdoings that had led up this poisonous marriage that had disrupted so many lives. My father turned to me with such undeniable anger, and as hard as I try, I cannot stop picturing the pure disgust he possessed as he locked eyes with me before swiftly pivoting to face his fiancée, who let out some kind of whimper and dashed out the room, followed by her maid of honor and two other seemingly loyal bridesmaids, and finally my father. I sat back down into the pew my sisters and I had been assigned, feeling defeated. As I had disrupted the wedding in such a fashion, my father and his fiancée were not able to marry as they had planned. It has been 5 months since then and I still feel an impending sense of guilt as I did on the day. However, I have been informed that another ceremony will take place in a few weeks that I am not allowed to attend. Although I feel bad for making such a scene, I can't help but feel as if I did what was right due to all the pain my mother and family faced due to his previous actions, and this gives me a warped sense of glee when I reflect on the incident. But I think I'm in need of an outsider's take on my actions. So, am I the asshole? AITA for causing my husband to potentially become homeless. I am 23 and my husband Austin M. 23 have not had the best relationship since I enlisted in the military. He was completely aware I was enlisting and we got married so he could live with me out of the country. Military's rules, not mine. We moved in together overseas, but so did his mom. She did not live in our household but ran it as if she did, down to the meals I was cooking. Our arguments escalated because he would call her and get the entire family involved, and it was a huge mess. He didn't work, didn't cook, didn't clean. All he did was play video games, go to the gym, and attend classes. In the breadwinner and housewife all in one. This way, I feel I have every right to decompress with a glass of wine and a book, right? According to him, I am not allowed to touch alcohol as long as we live together because his mom is an alcoholic. I will not agree to this and I will not let him dictate what I do in my decompression time, especially when I do his laundry and still wake up to go to work every morning while he sleeps or is still up from the previous night playing games. This has been the bulk of our arguments on top of many other things. Constantly we've been arguing and he's gone back and forth to the States on my dime for the past few months, and I'm getting tired of it. He didn't even spend Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's with me. I spent the holidays alone. We discussed divorce, but he won't agree. He feels he can't love anyone else, blah blah, all that stuff. Eventually I've checked out. I'm over living with a roommate and I've fallen out of love. I have been for a while now. I've given him so many chances to change and even remove his mom from our relationship, but he hasn't done either. He wants to come back to living with me because his parents are kicking him out. This is not confirmed, but our dads are friends and there's been word. He's expressed wanting to come back over the holidays but couldn't make up his mind. I told him if he comes back it's completely on my terms. He needs to focus on making me happy and contributing to the home, and he's diverted the conversation every time. I don't want him to come back, but I'm delaying the answer. He says it's not fair to him because I won't give him an immediate answer and he wants to start the new year fresh. I don't believe it for a second. He wanted to spend the holidays and mooch off of his family as much as he could before getting an answer back to me on if he wants to come back. I really want a divorce and I'm planning on following through. I want to move on. Therapy and one-on-one conversations haven't worked and I'm done fighting for us just to be back in a toxic environment and used. This may mean he will be homeless due to his own selfishness as he's a couch potato at his parents' place as well. I feel guilty because I could prevent it, but I don't want to live through misery. AITA for following through even though this means he might be homeless.